Listen to me closely. This is not just another year turning over on the calendar. This is a line in the sand. This is the moment where excuses expire, comfort zones collapse, and discipline steps in to take control. The clock didn't just reset. You did. And the question isn't what you want this year. The question is whether you're finally ready to do what most people refuse to do to get what most people will never have. A new year doesn't magically change your life. New discipline does. See, everybody loves the idea of success. They love the applause, the rewards, the respect, the freedom. But very few people fall in love with the process. Very few people wake up excited about consistency, sacrifice, repetition, and delayed gratification. And that's exactly why success is rare. It's not hidden. It's not mysterious. It's just unpopular. This year demands something different from you, not more motivation. Discipline. Motivation comes and goes. Discipline stays when feelings leave. Discipline gets up when it's cold, when it's hard, when nobody is watching. Discipline says, I'll do it anyway. Let me tell you something powerful. Your future doesn't respond to your intentions. It responds to your habits. You don't become successful because you want it. You become successful because you train for it. You condition yourself for it. You practice it daily until quitting no longer feels like an option. A lot of people say, this is my year. But they keep the same sleep schedule, the same mindset, the same circle, the same work ethic. That's not a new year. That's a repeat. If nothing changes in you, nothing changes for you. New discipline means new standards. It means you stop negotiating with weakness. It means you stop waiting to feel ready. It means you stop explaining your dreams to people who don't have the courage to chase their own. There will be days when you're tired. Do it tired. There will be days when you're discouraged. Do it anyway. There will be days when progress is slow. Stay consistent, because discipline doesn't shout. Discipline whispers, and over time, those whispers turn into results so loud they silence every doubt you ever had about yourself. Understand this. Success is no longer optional, not because someone said so, but because your life depends on it, your family depends on it, your future depends on it. The version of you that's been praying for a breakthrough depends on the discipline you choose today. You've wasted enough time doubting yourself. You've already proven you can survive hard things. Now it's time to prove you can commit. Discipline means saying no to what feels good now, so you can say yes to what feels great later. It means trading short-term comfort for long-term fulfillment. It means understanding that nobody is coming to save you, and that's actually good news because it means the power is already in your hands. Stop asking for easier circumstances. Ask for stronger habits. Stop waiting for perfect timing. Perfect timing shows up when discipline does. Stop hoping for a sign. You are the sign. This year, you don't need to announce your plans. You need to execute them. You don't need validation. You need repetition. You don't need luck. You need commitment. And let me remind you of this truth. The pain of discipline weighs ounces, but the pain of regret weighs tons. Choose wisely, so when the alarm goes off early, get up. When the work gets boring, stay focused. When distractions call your name, stay locked in. When doubt creeps in, remind yourself why you started. Because one day, sooner than you think, the discipline you practice now will introduce you to a life you once only imagined. This is your call to action. Decide today that you are done playing small. Decide today that comfort no longer controls you. Decide today that you will show up every day. Whether you feel like it or not, write the plan, commit to the routine, do the work, no excuses, no delays. No going back. New year, new discipline, and from this moment forward, success is no longer optional. A new year by itself carries no power. The calendar changes, the numbers change, but life stays the same if the person looking back in the mirror stays the same. Too many people confuse fresh dates with fresh direction. They believe new goals alone will transform their lives, but goals without discipline are just well-worded wishes. Discipline is the bridge between intention and outcome, and without it, every promise made at the beginning of the year quietly disappears by February. Real change starts when routines change, not when resolutions are written down. New goals feel exciting because they cost nothing in the moment. Anyone can say they want more success, more money, more peace, or a better life. Discipline is different because it demands payment up front. It asks for early mornings, focused hours, repeated effort, and the willingness to stay consistent even when no one is applauding. That is why most people love the idea of a new year, but resist the work that must come with it. They want results without restructuring their habits, but life does not reward intention. It rewards execution. A new year without new discipline is simply recycled time. The same distractions will show up, the same excuses will sound convincing, and the same comfort zones will try to pull everything back to familiar ground. Discipline interrupts that cycle. It forces new standards where old habits once lived. It creates structure where chaos used to dominate. It replaces emotional decision-making with commitment-based action. Without discipline, talent drifts, motivation fades, and potential stays unused. Discipline also removes the illusion that success comes from occasional effort. One strong week does not change a life. One inspired moment does not create a breakthrough. Discipline teaches the power of repetition, the quiet strength of doing the right thing over and over again until it becomes automatic. It builds momentum slowly, often invisibly, but that momentum compounds in ways motivation never can. Small disciplined actions done daily reshape identity, and once identity changes, results have no choice but to follow. Many people wait for the year to feel different before they act differently. Discipline works in reverse. It demands action first and allows feelings to catch up later. It trains the mind to move forward regardless of mood, energy, or circumstance. That is where real growth happens, in the space where excuses used to live. Discipline does not argue, negotiate, or delay. It simply executes day after day, regardless of external conditions. New discipline also means accepting that success is earned in private long before it is celebrated in public. The unseen hours matter more than the visible moments. The daily choices, the routines no one claps for, the consistency no one posts about are what separate progress from stagnation. A new year becomes meaningful only when it is backed by new behaviors that are repeated long enough to create permanent change. When discipline enters the picture, the year stops being about hope and starts being about control. Control over time, focus, effort, and priorities. That control is what transforms ordinary years into defining ones, because discipline doesn't wait for the year to change life. It changes life and forces the year to follow. Motivation is powerful, but it is unreliable. It shows up when conditions feel right and disappears the moment things get uncomfortable. People wait on motivation like it's a signal, believing they need to feel inspired before they move. The problem is that life does not operate on inspiration. Life demands consistency, and motivation cannot provide consistency because it is tied to emotion. Discipline, on the other hand, is not emotional. It is a decision made once and honored daily, regardless of how a person feels when they wake up. There will be days when motivation is high and everything feels possible. On those days, effort feels light and progress feels exciting. But those days are rare and unpredictable. Most days are ordinary. Some days are heavy. Some days feel discouraging, exhausting, or overwhelming. Motivation rarely survives in those conditions. Discipline is what steps in when excitement fades. Discipline moves the body even when the mind resists. It turns action into a non-negotiable responsibility instead of a mood-based choice. Discipline understands that feelings lie. Feelings say rest when progress requires movement. Feelings say wait when growth requires action. Feelings say quit when consistency would create momentum. Discipline listens to logic instead of emotion. It recognizes that doing what is necessary today creates freedom tomorrow. It trains the mind to operate on commitment rather than comfort, building strength in moments where motivation would fail completely. Motivation seeks results quickly. Discipline accepts delayed reward. Motivation wants visible progress to stay engaged. Discipline keeps working even when progress is invisible. This is where most people lose momentum, not because they are incapable, but because they rely on feeling encouraged instead of being committed. Discipline does not need reassurance. It does not need praise. It only needs a standard to live up to, and once that standard is set, discipline enforces it daily. Over time, discipline creates its own form of motivation. Action produces confidence. Consistency builds belief. Small wins earned through discipline create a quiet momentum that does not depend on external encouragement. This momentum becomes self-sustaining because progress itself becomes the reward. Discipline transforms effort into identity, and once something becomes part of who you are, it no longer requires motivation to maintain. Discipline also removes the pressure of perfection. Motivation expects every day to feel strong. Discipline accepts that some days will feel weak and works anyway. It creates a system that functions even on bad days, ensuring that progress continues regardless of circumstances. This is why discipline outlasts motivation. It does not collapse under pressure. It adapts, persists, and keeps moving forward when motivation would give up. People who succeed long-term are not the most motivated. They are the most disciplined. They have learned to separate action from emotion and commitment from feeling. They do not wait to feel ready, inspired, or confident. They act first and allow confidence to be built through repetition. Discipline becomes the anchor that keeps them moving forward when motivation comes and goes, turning temporary effort into lasting results. Most people live on intention. They intend to do better, intend to change, intend to succeed. Intention feels productive because it sounds responsible and hopeful, but intention alone has no power to move life forward. The future does not respond to what someone plans to do someday. It responds to what they repeatedly do today. Habits are the quiet architects of destiny, shaping outcomes long before results become visible. A person can have the strongest intentions in the world and still end up in the same place if their daily behaviors never change. Every habit is a vote for the future, cast one day at a time. What seems small in the moment becomes massive over time. 10 minutes of focused effort repeated daily outperforms hours of scattered effort done occasionally. Habits work whether someone believes in them or not. They compound silently, building momentum in one direction or another. The same way poor habits slowly create limitation, disciplined habits slowly create freedom. The difference between where someone is and where they want to be is often hidden in routines they barely notice. Intentions are emotional, habits are mechanical. Intentions depend on how someone feels about the future. Habits operate regardless of emotion. This is why habits are more reliable than goals. A goal points the direction, but a habit moves the feet. Without habits aligned to the goal, progress becomes accidental instead of inevitable. Success becomes something hoped for instead of something scheduled. Habits turn desire into structure, replacing guesswork with consistency. Many people overestimate what they can change in a single moment and underestimate what they can change through daily repetition. They look for breakthroughs while ignoring the power of process. Real transformation is rarely dramatic. It is built in ordinary moments where choices seem insignificant, choosing to show up again, choosing to prepare instead of procrastinate, choosing discipline over distraction. These choices, repeated consistently, reshape identity. Once identity changes, behavior follows naturally, and results have no choice but to follow behavior. Habits also reveal priorities more honestly than words ever could. What someone does daily exposes what they truly value, not what they claim to value. Time, energy, and attention flow toward habits automatically. This means the fastest way to change the future is not by rewriting goals, but by redesigning routines. When routines change, outcomes change. When outcomes change, belief changes. That belief then reinforces the habit, creating a powerful cycle of growth. People often wait for clarity before they act, but habits create clarity through action. Repetition builds skill, skill builds confidence, confidence strengthens commitment. None of that requires perfect planning, only consistent execution. Habits reduce decision fatigue by removing the need to constantly choose. Once a behavior becomes habitual, it requires less effort and produces more impact. This efficiency is what allows progress to continue even during difficult seasons. The future is not shaped by big moments alone. It is shaped by what happens on average days. Habits determine the direction life naturally drifts when willpower runs out. They decide whether progress continues or stalls. When habits align with purpose, growth becomes unavoidable. When habits contradict intention, frustration becomes constant. Changing habits is not about punishment or restriction, but about alignment, bringing daily actions into agreement with long-term vision, so the future becomes a predictable result of what is done consistently today. Growth does not announce itself with comfort. It shows up disguised as pressure, repetition, and resistance. The moment discomfort appears, most people assume something is wrong, but discomfort is often the clearest sign that progress is happening. Consistency through discomfort is what separates those who improve from those who stall. When things feel easy, anyone can stay committed. When things feel heavy, boring, or uncertain, commitment is tested. That test is where transformation begins. Discomfort challenges identity. It exposes weakness, impatience, and doubt. The instinctive response is to retreat, to seek relief, or to postpone effort until conditions feel better. But conditions rarely improve on their own. Waiting for comfort keeps progress locked behind delay. Consistency demands action in imperfect conditions, trusting that growth follows effort, not ease. The willingness to stay engaged while uncomfortable trains resilience, strengthening the mind to handle pressure without breaking focus. Most breakthroughs are preceded by periods where progress feels slow or invisible. This is where many people quit, not because they lack ability, but because they mistake silence for failure. Results often lag behind effort. Seeds grow underground long before anything breaks the surface. Consistency requires faith in the process, a belief that disciplined action compounds even when evidence is not immediately visible. Quitting early resets that progress, forcing the cycle to start over again. Boredom is another form of discomfort that derails consistency. Repetition lacks excitement, and without excitement, effort feels meaningless to those who rely on stimulation. Growth, however, is built on repetition. Mastery demands doing the same fundamentals again and again until excellence becomes automatic. Consistency turns ordinary actions into extraordinary results, but only for those willing to endure the monotony. Those who chase novelty abandon progress for temporary excitement. Discomfort also exposes emotional resistance. Fear of failure, fear of success, and fear of judgment all surface when effort becomes serious. Consistency means continuing despite these internal reactions. It means acting before confidence arrives and staying present when doubt speaks loudly. Each time discomfort is faced instead of avoided, it loses power. The mind learns that discomfort is survivable, temporary, and often necessary. Consistency during difficult seasons builds a form of trust with oneself. Every time a commitment is honored under pressure, self-respect grows. That self-respect becomes a stabilizing force, making future commitments easier to keep. Inconsistency erodes trust internally, creating hesitation and self-doubt. Consistency repairs that damage by proving reliability through action, not promises. Progress does not require perfect performance. It requires sustained effort. Even imperfect action, when repeated consistently, outperforms sporadic bursts of intensity. Consistency smooths out mistakes, refines skill, and builds endurance over time. It creates momentum that carries effort forward even when motivation disappears. Discomfort is temporary, but the strength gained from enduring it is permanent. Each difficult moment survived expands capacity, raising tolerance for challenge. What once felt overwhelming becomes manageable. What once caused hesitation becomes routine. Consistency through discomfort reshapes perception, turning obstacles into training grounds and resistance into refinement. Growth accelerates when discomfort is no longer treated as a warning, but as a signal that the process is working, and forward motion must continue regardless of how it feels in the moment. Raising standards is one of the most uncomfortable decisions a person can make because it removes the safety net of excuses. When standards are low, failure has many explanations. When standards are high, responsibility becomes unavoidable. Success demands higher standards because average effort produces average outcome. To expect extraordinary results while maintaining ordinary behavior creates internal conflict. Personal accountability resolves that conflict by aligning expectation with action. Higher standards begin with self-honesty. It requires acknowledging where effort has been inconsistent, where discipline has been optional, and where comfort has been prioritized over growth. This awareness is not meant to create guilt, but clarity. Clarity exposes patterns, and patterns reveal why results look the way they do. Without accountability, these patterns repeat unnoticed. With accountability, they become opportunities for change. Personal accountability means refusing to outsource responsibility to circumstances, people, or timing. External factors may influence conditions, but they do not control choices. Blaming circumstances delays progress because it gives power away. Accountability takes that power back. It accepts that while not everything can be controlled, response always can. This mindset shifts focus from justification to execution, from complaint to correction. Higher standards also demand boundaries. Time, energy, and attention must be protected with intention. Saying yes to everything weakens focus. Saying no strategically strengthens commitment. Accountability requires evaluating what drains progress and removing it, even when removal is uncomfortable. This may include limiting distractions, reducing unnecessary obligations, or distancing from influences that normalize mediocrity. Standards shape environment, and environment shapes behavior. When standards rise, excuses lose credibility. Being tired, busy, or uncertain no longer stops action. These conditions become part of the process rather than reasons to pause it. Accountability reframes obstacles as responsibilities. Instead of asking whether conditions are ideal, the question becomes whether the standard will be upheld regardless. This shift eliminates negotiation with weakness and replaces it with decision. Personal accountability also strengthens integrity. Integrity is not about perfection, but alignment between words and actions. Each time a commitment is kept, integrity grows stronger. Each time it is broken, Trust erodes internally. High standards protect integrity by making follow through non-negotiable. This internal consistency builds confidence because belief in oneself increases when actions consistently match intentions. Accountability creates measurable progress. Standards define what acceptable effort looks like, making improvement trackable rather than vague. Instead of hoping for change, accountability demands evidence. Did the work get done? Was the time honored? Were the habits practiced? These questions remove ambiguity and replace it with clarity. Progress becomes a direct reflection of choices made, not luck or chance. Higher standards also require resilience. Once excuses are removed, setbacks must be faced directly. Accountability does not deny difficulty, but it does not allow difficulty to justify quitting. It encourages adjustment instead of abandonment. Mistakes become feedback, not failure. This resilience allows progress to continue without emotional derailment. When personal accountability is fully embraced, success stops feeling distant and starts feeling deliberate. Effort becomes intentional, choices become purposeful, standards become a guide rather than a restriction. The individual becomes the primary driver of outcomes instead of a passive observer, understanding that results are not something waited for, but something built daily through consistent adherence to higher expectations and disciplined ownership of every decision made along the way. Every decision carries a cost, whether it is acknowledged or not. Choosing discipline carries the cost of effort, sacrifice, and discomfort, while avoiding discipline carries the cost of regret. Regret is subtle at first. It whispers in moments of reflection, in quiet comparisons, and in unrealized potential. Over time, it grows heavier, not because of what was done, but because of what was consistently avoided. Discipline asks for payment now, so regret does not collect interest later. The discomfort of discipline is temporary and purposeful. It stretches capacity, strengthens focus, and builds resilience. It demands structure where chaos once lived and intention where habit once drifted. This discomfort is measurable and short-lived, tied directly to action. Regret, on the other hand, is vague and permanent. It lingers in unanswered questions and unresolved dreams. It revisits moments long after opportunities have passed, offering no solution, only reflection on what could have been done differently. Choosing discipline means accepting responsibility for the future self. It is a declaration that tomorrow matters enough to act differently today. This choice transforms struggle into investment. Early mornings, focused hours, and repeated effort stop feeling like punishment and start feeling like preparation. Discipline reframes effort as protection against future disappointment, a way of honoring potential before time runs out. Regret often disguises itself as comfort. It encourages delay by offering short-term relief. It says rest now, start later, avoid risk, stay safe. This comfort feels harmless in the moment, but its consequences accumulate silently. Discipline interrupts this cycle by demanding action despite discomfort. It recognizes that ease today often becomes frustration tomorrow. By choosing discipline, control is reclaimed from impulse and handed to intention. Life does not pause to wait for readiness. Time moves forward regardless of hesitation. Discipline aligns action with time, ensuring progress continues instead of slipping away unnoticed. Regret thrives on lost time. Discipline protects time by giving it purpose. Each disciplined choice reduces the space where regret can grow, replacing uncertainty with direction. Choosing discipline also builds confidence. Each completed commitment reinforces belief in the ability to follow through. This belief compounds, creating momentum that makes future discipline easier. Regret does the opposite. It erodes confidence by reminding of broken promises and missed chances. Discipline repairs that damage by creating evidence of reliability through action. This decision is not made once. It is made daily. Each moment presents a choice between immediate comfort and long-term fulfillment. Discipline consistently chooses fulfillment, understanding that satisfaction comes from progress, not avoidance. Regret feeds on inconsistency, growing stronger each time effort is postponed. Over time, the contrast becomes clear. Those who choose discipline experience fatigue, pressure, and challenge, but they also experience growth, freedom, and pride. Those who avoid discipline experience ease, but later face frustration, limitation, and unanswered questions. The weight of discipline is felt in the moment and then released. The weight of regret arrives later and stays. Choosing discipline is not about denying enjoyment or rest, but about prioritizing purpose over impulse, ensuring that future reflection brings gratitude instead of longing, confidence instead of disappointment, and peace instead of wondering what might have been possible if a different choice had been made when it mattered most.